Uncle Dave from the 717 Bourbon Society challenged me to review these two bottles, and I'm not one to back down from a challenge. So here's a review of Silverback Distillery's Wheated and 4-Grain Bourbons. So Dave did not give me a heads up as to what these are like, but it was sort of implied that he did not care for them. Now, I am obviously a different person, and I have a different palate than Dave does. I have not heard a whole lot of reviews. Generally, no news in the whiskey world is not good news. To give it a fair shake, we're going to go into it with no expectations. We're going to kind of talk about what these bottles are, where they come from, and then we're going to give them a try. First on the docket, I'm assuming first, right? I'm going to go wheated first over 4-grain just because of profile, although I could be very wrong on that. So these are from the Silverback Distillery. They are small batch, straight wheat whiskey, so aged at least 4 years. They are non-chill filtered. I think both. Yep, both are non-chill filtered, which is a good thing. So quick explanation of what chill filtration is. It is basically the process in which they flash chill the whiskey and they filter it out to get some of the fatty acids and esters out of there, because when whiskey gets under 60 degrees, if it has those fatty acids and esters, they will clump and it looks real disgusting. So if you ever have a bottle that you put in your freezer or you put out in your car overnight and you get it out and it looks clumpy, that's possibly because it was non-chill filtered. Now, during the chill filtration process, part of that takes out some flavors. So those fatty acids and esters are part of the flavor. Those fatty acids contribute to what we call the mouthfeel or the consistency. If it's got a nice, thick, oily mouthfeel, it's probably got a lot of those fatty acids and esters. Non-chill filtered is generally something that we look for in whiskey. There's a few brands that boast that. As a generality, though, most whiskey, unless it's expressly stated, is chill filtered. So these are non-chill filtered. That might be a good thing, might be a bad thing. It does say wheat whiskey, not a wheated bourbon. I was wrong in the intro. It says distilled and bottled by Silverback Distillery, Afton, Virginia, and East Stroudsburg, PA. Pretty much states that this is a craft whiskey. It was distilled on site. That is something that I generally like to see. I know I praise Holiday Distillery for doing that on their own, and I kind of have this hot or high proof take, hazmat take, whatever you want to call it. Kind of have this hot take that whiskey that is craft, that is not distilled by where it's bottled, is not really craft whiskey. It's one of those things that is an opinion that I hold, kind of like some people hold that bourbon that is not from Kentucky is not bourbon. It is absolutely not a rule, 100% not a rule. You can get contract distilled whiskey and call it whatever you want once you purchase it. I am just of the opinion that I hold in higher regard companies that make their own whiskey that actually taste good as opposed to just sourcing it. That's my high proof take of the day. The second bottle is Silverback Distillery small batch blend of straight bourbon whiskeys aged 2 years. So already kind of not excited for that. It is a 4-grain, so the assumption would be that it is corn, wheat, rye, and malted barley. It is significantly lighter. I don't know if you can quite tell or not. At least it looks that way from here. Can't really 100%. Yeah, whatever. It looks darker. It does say distilled in Virginia and Indiana, so most likely it is a blend of their product and MGP. That would be the assumption. So we're going to start with the wheat whiskey, which is their own product, and we're going to see where we get here. So give it a shot at opening it. I have been told that possibly these are a pain in the butt to open. The wax is quite thick. Ooh, all right. Kind of got in that sweet spot there underneath. They also use one of my least favorite things. I don't know if you can tell this, but there is plastic underneath the wax. If you are doing this, stop immediately. I've seen some barrel picks where they have that occurring, and it is quite possibly one of the worst things. So if this is you, the plastic underneath the wax, just stop. Ooh, okay. Wax came off. Yeah. I'm going to try getting the rest of this wax off here because this cork seems to be quite on there. All right, wax is gone. I might be cheating a little bit, but there we go. Dave said that he had to use channel locks to get into it. I 100% believe that. Also, the cork is like, it's like not in there. That actually doesn't smell bad. Not gonna lie. So we're gonna pour a little bit in there. I'll let that sit for a sec. And we are going to open up the 4 grain. This one is not waxed, which is nice. But the cork is equally as tight, so no harm will come to this knife. I'm being very gentle and generous. Oh, okay. So that just came right off. But came open. That is bonkers. It's like, so the other one kind of sat in there. Oh, okay. So yeah, it's definitely a 2-piece cork. Not really sure why that is a thing. Okay. So I have the wheated here, the 4 grain here. We're going to let the 4 grain sit and think about its sins. And we're going to give the wheated a try. So it is, I don't think I said, 93 proof, batch 1. I think the 4 grain is 92 proof, but we're going to get to the wheat whiskey, and then we're going to get to the 4 grain. So cheers. This kind of reminds me of a Buffalo Trace product. Like, this kind of smells like Weller. It has a lot of that grape jelly note, grape jam note that I get very frequently off of like Weller and Eagle Rare. A little bit of caramel, a little bit of nuttiness, a little bit of vanilla, maybe like marshmallow fluff kind of thing going on. It does have a little bit of proof on the nose, but it's not proofy by any stretch of the imagination. Honestly, I'm kind of excited to try this. It's got nice long legs. Looks like it might have a nice thick consistency. Let's give it a try. That could be Weller. That actually, especially with some more age on it, man, could be a competitor to Weller Special Reserve. Like, it could be a comparison to Weller Special Reserve. Actually might be better than Weller Special Reserve. I honestly have no idea what these bottles cost. They are craft though, so there is generally what I consider to be the craft tax, or they are a little bit more expensive than I feel like they should be. That's really not bad. It's a little spicy. Like, it's got a little bit of a proof burn to it. It definitely tastes like it's roughly 4 years old. That's pretty much the minimum of where I like bourbon, but this is pretty good. I wonder if it being a wheated whiskey helps with that at all. It definitely has some complexity to it. It's pretty good. I'm going to finish this glass. Let's give the 4 grain a taste. Okay, so it doesn't smell bad. It smells like circus peanuts. Circus peanuts, popcorn. That's a common note that I get off 4 grains. Popcorn is usually the one, especially like Penelope has a barrel strength 4 grain. That was pure popcorn to me. There's like absolutely no oak. It's definitely young. It's a little sawdusty, but it's not, there's nothing bad about the nose. It still has kind of that really thick legs, what looks to be a thick consistency. There is, I think, noticeably less ethanol on the nose than there was with the wheat whiskey. The nose is delicate, but there's not much to it. That last sniff gave me a little bit of like apple juice. But yeah, there's almost no complexity here. It's not blowing my mind, but it's also not repulsive enough that I don't want to try it. So here goes. Cheers. There's not much. Like, there's not much to the beginning of it. There's a little bit of fruit on the back of the palate, and it's like, I don't even know how to describe this. The very first review that Gentleman of Whiskey did ever, we had Bowman Brothers, small batch as a part of that, and I believe I described that as bourbon water. That's kind of how the first half of the palate is on this. Very nondescript. Like, you can tell that you're drinking something. You can tell that it's not water, but it has like almost no flavor whatsoever. And then towards the back of the palate, it is like grape, tobacco, leather, oak, all kind of very compressed and right there. It's not blowing my mind. It's not impressing me. It's not any of that stuff, but it is also not repulsive. Okay, 4 grain, better than I thought it would be. I will text Dave, see what he paid for these, and put that in the description for the for the wheat whiskey. I think I would actually pick one up if it's a decent price. The 4 grain has Green River bourbon vibes, the just the regular straight bourbon, the 90 proofer, although that is not a 4 grain, this is, but I think they taste very similar. So if you're a fan of the Green River and you want to try something craft and you come across this, I would probably give it a try. The wheat whiskey, I actually legitimately enjoyed. I think I like it more than Weller Special Reserve, and if it's anywhere near that price point, I'd probably buy it. So, despite my unbridled mistrust of craft whiskey, I actually kind of enjoy these. I think I would be interested to see what the Silverback tastes like with a couple more years age on it. With a 6-year age and maybe a little bit more proof, I think it could be a Weller Antique killer. Like, I think it could legitimately be better than Weller Antique. If you've had either of these, I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on them. I'm sure Uncle Dave will be up in the comments. Thank you, Uncle Dave, for letting us try these. It was a really interesting video to make and better than I expected. So that's great. If you want to suggest content for us to do in the future, drop that in the comments. Coming up tomorrow night, so this will be dropping on Thursday the 28th. On Friday the 29th, we will be doing a live raffle, blinds, all kinds of fun. It'll be up here for you to check it out. The link will be up here. Hit it, notify me, make sure you show up. We will be hanging out with the Bourbon Besties, Chris and Sherry. They are some of our friends. They are a part of the PA Bourbon Squad. Sherry is spearheading a raffle for Alpha Bravo canines. They provide service animals to our disabled veterans, so that is a worthwhile cause. We will be raffling off some bottles, so there is a raffle to be entered, and just a little sneak peek. This is one of the bottles we'll be raffling off, so if you have any interest in getting a Weller 12, stop by. Even if you don't have any interest in that one, we'll be raffling off some other bottles, some samples. It'll be a fun time. It'll be a great watch. So hope you stop by. Hope you enjoy it. If you like this content, check out our other videos. Please like and comment on this video and subscribe if you haven't already. And we hope you'll join us tomorrow mostly, but in general, we hope you'll join us in drinking like a gentleman. Cheers. Kind of sniffing it out of the bottle, which you can never tell, but whiskey people still do it anyway. Every time I'm handed a bottle, I sniff out of the bottle. But it is absolutely no bearing whatsoever on what the bottle is going to smell or taste like. I really honestly don't know why I do it.